How do you choose between two opportunities that might seem very similar at first glance or have very big differences, but an equal number of appealing or not very attractive points? Because organizations don't consider the information that we as people might need to make an informed, good decision with consistent points on both sides, know what are the right questions to ask ourselves, to ask them, and what kind of way we need to think in order to make the most informed decision we can with the information that we have. When I was going to my internship with Adidas, I was choosing between this potential job with Adidas and a certain job offer with another company within South Africa. The same again when I was being hired by Volvo. I had a job offer from Volvo, but I didn't want to work in HR. And I had another potential job that was not HR, but it was in South Africa. And both of them were appealing to me. This is even more difficult when you don't come from a background where you naturally learn how to make these sorts of tough decisions. Maybe your parents or the people around you never did this in front of you or never guided you through this sort of thought process. Or you don't have people around you where you can draw on their frameworks for considering one role versus another. How do we decide? What should we consider? As is usually the case with my videos, a prerequisite is that we need to understand parts of ourselves. We need to understand our own values, our own desires, what's going to drive and motivate us and keep us engaged within our lives. Our lives are a holistic system. What we do for money is one part of it. How we gain energy is another part of it. In my perfect world, these things are married. We need to compare the two offers that we have to the situation that is going to fulfill us. I've got a longer video on how to deep dive into your values, what motivates you, what drives you, what is your purpose within the spaces that you operate within. But for now, we're going to focus on 3 questions that we can ask ourselves and reflect upon during the process of choosing between 2 great opportunities. Before we dive in, it is super important that we think of this not as where we currently are with the current resources we have and what we feel is possible for us. We need to think in terms of dreams. Where do we want ourselves to be? What is that thing inside of us that we never really give much acknowledgement to because we don't know if we're going to achieve it? What is the biggest dream that you have? Put that down on paper when you think of these 3 questions. Because let me tell you, there's so much that we are capable of that we don't even realize is possible for us. And if we just put words to it, then we can start to take the steps towards that. We can work backwards from where that is and see how we can move through the parts of our lives and make marginal small gains every single day. The 3 questions we're going to ask ourselves. 1, what kind of space do I want to spend most of my time in? 2, what kind of people do I want to spend most of my time with? And 3, what do I want to be thinking the most about? Because work is where we're going to spend the majority of our adult lives. So, working backwards, what kind of stuff do I want to be thinking of? What kind of work do I want to be doing? Do you want variety in your day, or do you enjoy doing the same thing over and over again at an extremely high quality? Do you want something straightforward? Do you get energy from already knowing the answer and executing? Or do you want to figure out how to solve a problem, do a lot of wayfinding along the way, probably fail a lot, but eventually maybe not even get there? Who do you want to spend your time with? Well, this goes for both your colleagues, it goes for the broader people around you, but it also goes for your direct manager. What type of person do you need to help guide you within your career? Do you want someone to give you clear directions? Or do you want someone to give you more autonomy so you can be more independent? Do you want somebody who is soft and caring and is going to nurture you through processes? Or do you want someone who is blunt and direct and straightforward? It's going to give it to you straight and then you can just move on. And then lastly, where do you want to spend most of your time? What kind of environment do you want to work in? Do you want a job where you're going to be able to work remotely? Do you want an office space that you go into? What kind of pace of work? Do you like work that is even across the board, or do you prefer highs and lows? With all of these questions, you're going to have to be very real with yourself on what is best for you. We all operate in different cultures and societies that place value on different things. And if your personal values don't line up with the culture's personal values, you might be put under stress. That goes for the culture of the company, that goes for the societal culture. It could even be just how your family operates and where your family places values. We want to make choices that are aligned with our personal values, with what we feel is right for us. And that might mean that you have a more nurturing, caring manager that directs you in your work. Or it might mean that you actually like going into the office because you get that social sense of belonging. As you think through these things, try be in tune with how your internal state reacts. If there's something inside that squeezes up and feels uncomfortable, then that avenue probably isn't the right one for you. If it's more, I don't know if I can do that, that's scary to me, but it excites you, maybe that is the right thing for you. You're just afraid to do it. Once you make time to be aware of these reactions inside, you can start to guide yourself towards decision-making that is attuned to what is actually good for you. Of course, in this process, we're also going to make mistakes. We're going to choose things that we think we want and we actually didn't want. And there were only very subtle signals between those two. And that is okay. If you recognize that in hindsight, and the next time, the next iteration, you bring yourself closer to what is attuned to you, that is success. And then we also need to tune out some of the pretty things of a job. What happens to the role when we eliminate the fluff and see what lies underneath? Maybe it doesn't stack up on its own. What I mean by this is it's important to factor out the inconsequential things when you get a job offer. The non-constructive parts that might put you under pressure to say yes to an opportunity quicker than what you would want. What this can look like is feeling wanted in the early stages of the recruitment process, being headhunted. In Western culture, work validates us. And so if we're without work for a certain portion of time, they might feel, finance aside, an urgency to get back into the job market purely because work is where we find ourselves. And that can also contribute to poor decision making. In my case, I wanted to earn my own money. I wanted to leave my parents' house. I wanted to be independent and live on my own, be out in the big bad world, So why not move to another country entirely? The organizations, the places where we want to work on the same basis. Not with that beautiful outer shell that I like to call branding. And yes, the gap between branding and the lived experience in organizations is going to be a separate video in the future. So then, what do we evaluate organizations on? We know what we might value from where we're going to spend the majority of the time we have in a day. We know that we need to remove this beautiful outer shell from our decision making. But what is actually important within a job? You can come up with your own framework or buckets for thinking about these things. But what's important for me is my manager, its growth, lifestyle, and it is type of work. All of these things are, of course, interrelated. A good manager can make or break your experience and your career. You want somebody who's going to advocate for you, who's going to push you into new spaces to expand into your potential. But on the flip side, you don't want a micromanager. Even if you have the best work, you have an incredible lifestyle, and you have opportunities for growth, if somebody is poking you all the time, you're going to feel frustration and a sense of dissatisfaction. And trust me, if you have incredible opportunities for work, a great lifestyle, and potential for growth, but you don't have a manager who is going to advocate for you and your work at the level that it needs to happen, you're not going to go anywhere. If somebody doesn't recognize your potential, equals stagnation. There are many ways to manage up, also a future video, but it is far more effective to have a manager who is in your corner to begin with. Then growth is things like career opportunity, the ability to continuously learn on the job that's baked into what you do. And of course, the optionality for growth later on. How many opportunities spring from the decision that you're going to make now? And then lifestyle. Now, the traditional way of thinking about lifestyle is that you have work-life balance. But a more modern idea of this is work-life integration. How can you as the individual pick and choose how you set your boundaries? And some people want fluidity between work and their life. It's one and the same. Other people want very firm boundaries. When they leave the office, they go into their life, and that's perfectly okay too. What degree does the job give you the opportunity to choose what is best for you? Are you feeling good and motivated with the setup that you have? That is the important thing. Finally, the type of work. This is where we need to understand what drives us, what gets us engaged, what gets us out of bed in the morning. Maybe it's contributing to a greater goal. Maybe it's money. Maybe it's having stimulating work where you feel like you're really intellectually challenged. We need to find out all of these things for ourselves in the process of work. It is a process. It's not something that we come to immediately, and that is okay. To sum this up, my poor plants need to go back into their original homes. There are many green and red flags on how to pick and choose between jobs. If you'd like a deep dive into one of the areas that I've mentioned today, put it down in the comments below. There are so many topics like this that I'm going to dig into in the next few weeks and months. One of them is psychometric testing. And in that video, we're going to deep dive into 2 of my very own psychometric tests to give a breakdown of how a company might use this within the recruitment process, as well as how we can personally use it for our own self-development and growth. So if you want to get to know me a little bit too well, then subscribe, put the notification bell on, and we'll dig into all the intricacies of me then. Special thank you to my guests, the Network Calathea and this other one. They are both in very good health and appreciated the TLC of today's episode.